So get this. In Kentucky, there are two beauty schools. They teach pretty much the same stuff, but they are living in completely different economic worlds. One path loads students up with debt, while the other, well, it seems to be creating entrepreneurs. In this explainer, we're going to break down how these two models have these huge and, frankly, surprising impacts on everybody: the students, future business owners, and yep, even you, the taxpayer. Which brings us to a pretty wild question, right? How in the world can a beauty school save taxpayers millions of dollars? It sounds kind of nuts, I know, but stick with me because the numbers here tell a really fascinating story. Okay, so to understand how this works, we really need to look at the two very different philosophies behind how these schools are run. On the surface, they might look similar, but when you look under the hood, their financial DNA is completely different. So on one side, you have the traditional schools. They rely heavily on federal financial aid, Title IV funding. This usually means the programs are longer, somewhere around 15 to 18 months. But then you have this other model, the debt-free one, which the Louisville Beauty Academy is all about. It's a simple cash-based system with lower tuition. This lets students get through the program and get to work in just 9 or 10 months. And here's the real game changer. Their grads start their careers with zero, and I mean zero, student debt. And that one single difference, having debt versus having no debt, kicks off this massive financial chain reaction. And it doesn't just affect the students. It has a major impact on the public treasury, too. So let's start with a student. If you go the traditional route in Kentucky, the research shows you're likely walking out of that beauty school with an average of $11,000 in debt. Now, what about a grad from the Louisville Beauty Academy's model? They walk away with zero, a big fat nothing, not a single penny owed. I mean, think about that. What a life-changing difference when you're just trying to get your career off the ground. But what about the rest of us, the taxpayers? Well, for every 100 students who choose the debt-free school over the one using federal aid, taxpayers save a cool $1 million. And the math on that is actually super simple. The source material uses a pretty conservative number, about 10 grand for an average federal aid package. So you take 100 students who go to a school that doesn't use that aid, and boom, that's $1 million that just stays in the public treasury instead of going out as grants and loans. But the economic impact doesn't just stop at direct savings. No way. There's another really powerful factor here, and it's all about time. Because getting people into the workforce faster creates its own powerful ripple effect. The whole concept is called speed to market, and since the debt-free model is a faster program, its graduates are licensed and earning a real income a full 6 months earlier than graduates from the other schools. And that 6-month head start turns out to be incredibly valuable. Just how valuable? Well, let's just use a pretty conservative entry-level salary, say $30,000 a year. That 6 months means an extra $15,000 of income for each and every graduate. That's money they're earning while other students are still sitting in a classroom. And this is where it comes back to benefit everybody. That extra cash doesn't just help the graduate, it also contributes to the state's tax base. If you apply a pretty conservative 16% effective tax rate, that extra 15 grand in earnings generates another $2,400 in tax revenue per graduate. And when you scale that up for a class of just 100 graduates, that suddenly becomes an extra $240,000 flowing into public funds every single year. It's a direct payoff for getting skilled workers into the economy just a little bit faster. So we have taxpayer savings, and we have extra tax revenue. That's already pretty good, but the long-term impact is maybe even bigger. This is where we see graduates turn into entrepreneurs, the people who actually create jobs. Economists have a great term for this: debt overhang. The best way to think about it is like trying to start a race while carrying a heavy backpack. That student loan payment is that backpack. It's a constant financial drag that makes it way, way harder to take a risk, like opening your own salon. It just squashes entrepreneurship. And this isn't just a theory. The data proves it out. Just look at this chart. It tracks 500 graduates over 5 years. The debt-free grads, they launched 125 new businesses. Their counterparts with debt, only 60. I mean, the difference is just night and day. So what does that mean in simple terms? When you take away that financial backpack, a graduate becomes more than 2 times more likely to become an employer. The analysis actually found the performance ratio was 2.08 times higher. In other words, they don't just go out and get jobs, they go out and create them. Okay, so let's put all these pieces together now and look at the final economics scorecard. Let's compare these two models side by side. This table really just lays it all out. For every 100 students, the debt-free model saves taxpayers $1 million right off the bat. It then generates another $240,000 in extra tax revenue. And then, over 5 years, its graduates create 65 more businesses and over 162 more jobs. I mean, you look at every single one of these key metrics, and the debt-free model just has a huge advantage. Really, the conclusion from the source material just says it all. A model that focuses on being affordable and fast can actually be way more beneficial for the public's finances than one that depends on a ton of government subsidy. It's a really powerful case for rethinking how we do vocational training.
And that leaves us with one last kind of provocative question. We've seen all these numbers for cosmetology, but what if this debt-free, high-speed model was applied to other skilled trades? Things like welding, plumbing, or IT support. What could that mean for the entire economy? It's definitely something worth thinking about. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.